I'm sitting here with Candy Sheridan, who runs Strumpshaw Tree Faair, and but I've known her a lot longer than that. When did I first meet you, Candy? That we can remember.
25 years ago at Henham Steam Rally or the Ruffin Fairs.
Well, we were at the Ruffin Fairs, but I think the first time you actually heard me telling stories properly was when I sat around the back of probably one of your wagons when you were selling stuff in front.
That's right. We had, well, I've still got it, it's the same Roma, yeah. So it was the Roma that was displayed for the Steam Rally, and we were selling our sort of pots and pans and churns. And little Lily had a stall, she put the lace cloth on there, and she was selling little bits of china because she really wanted to go to the fairground. And I never give the children money; they have to earn it.
Yeah. So yeah, and Lily, I remember I passed Lily my stick at one point, and you advised against that.
My little red-headed youngest daughter, well, she's sort of fiery, let's just say. She was fiery at 5, and she probably hasn't changed, to be honest, at the end of the day. But yes, I did advise it, because, I mean, never be fooled by a little girl with long red hair in plaits and a lace collar, because beneath that surface is quite a spirited child. She certainly was.
She was, and she still is.
She still is.
She's not just not a child anymore, because she's helping you run the fair, isn't she?
She is. She's been brilliant on social media. This year, my son is working. He's designed a beautiful poster for us this year. All the children have been involved. It's a family effort. It's family and friends, and all the nice people we know all coming together for a lovely fair.
It's very much a family event.
It's a family event,
and it harks back to the Albion fairs,
Exactly.
and further back than that, it harks back really to the horse fair, the gypsy horse fairs as well. Yeah, because East Anglia's, that is East Anglia, isn't it?
East Anglia is a lovely mix because it's gypsies, travellers, people that work on the tree surgeons, people that live off grid. We're all equal in East Anglia, and we all work alongside each other, and we all have attended the fairs. We've either been through the strawberry fairs, the horse fairs, the Ruffin fairs, the Albion fairs. The common thread is, in a way, the fairs. It's where we meet and we mix. Normally you wouldn't necessarily mix together, but I remember sort of years ago going to always did Bungay at the horse fair, and the horse fair then turned into more of sort of like an Albion fair in the end. We sort of crossed over. People cross over and they cross back again, and it's a lovely. It's all inclusive, isn't it? These fairs at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, and Strumpshaw didn't just appear out of nowhere. There's several things. You had attempted tree fairs before. Milton Park in Cambridge. That was glorious.
That was absolutely lovely.
And you only had you only had two rules, wasn't it? That the police, that you've got to have no alcohol on site, and there were no police on site.
That's right, yes.
And it was wonderful. The feeling was really
absolutely
wonderful.
Lovely. That was Milton Country Park, because they are near the gypsy site, the Milton gypsy site, and the person running Milton Country Park has approached me and said, we are just not inviting the gypsies on. We just seem to have a sort of people coming out from Cambridge, to do our sort of our events and things like that. So we'd really like it if you could run a fair, and we called it the Gypsy Arts Festival or something like that. And lovely ground, wasn't it? Absolutely lovely ground. Invited everyone from the site, and it was the first time that all these different characters came together. So you had the traditional, you had the Wests, so the traditional trailers, the Romans and the Buccaneers. You had the wagons come. Bingo Smith came horse-drawn. Absolutely, what a lovely sight to come horse-drawn like that. But then you also had the people that worked with the Willow, that were doing the workshops. You had a few. We had a traveller market where you could buy your washables and
there was and I've forgotten his name, but the guy who painted the wagons. He lived.
Was that Felix?
Felix, yeah. No, I think
he did the money stools, didn't he? I've still got mine. Yeah, I've still got mine.
Yeah,
so that's what we're very talented. Yeah, very talented. We had a sort of mixture of people, didn't we?
Yeah. And that was wonderful. And then you couldn't do it again because they said there were too many gypsies.
Yeah, we got it twice.
We had two. Yeah.
I mean, the first one was lovely, John, because we had I invited the Mayor of Cambridge to come out, and he came out with his chain and everything else. But I also invited Patrick McCarthy, an Irish traveller who lived at Smithy Fen, who was facing eviction.
Yeah.
And I had and a few dignitaries came out to go with the mayor, so they were all lined up. And I can remember saying, I'm now going to ask you to open the fair. So the mayor stepped forward, and I said, just a moment, Patrick, please open our fair. And that was followed by Billy West, who blessed our fair, because he's a born-again gypsy, had the blessing. I said, no, it's your turn. And that's the right order.
That is absolutely right, and I mean, and that's something that runs through at the Strumpshaw very gently. You've got a very gentle approach to
Very
existence
hands-off,
these
isn't it?
days,
Yeah.
because the not to put too fine on a point on it, but there's not been a lot of the steam fairs have not been over welcoming of late.
It's got worse. It's got worse over the last 10 years as well. We're always told we only want one gypsy wagon. We'll have 2 of you. And then you turn round and there's 30 station rangers, there's 100 tractors. You know, they're all the same colour at the end of the day. So why tell us that we can only have 2 or 3 of you? You know, what's the issue there? And also we've been pushed out, like at Henham, we got pushed further, and instead of being next to the fairground, which are also gypsy showmen, we just got pushed out and out and out. So we're on the periphery, and 11 years ago at Henham, we were sort of right on the outskirts with they still do it. They've got brand new cars for sale. They had double glazing with conservatories, and we were in the middle with this encampment, literally encampment. And somebody came up with this visibility show. You can't camp here. There's a rally coming. I said, no, we paid to come. I said, we're a display. You know, we've always been here. You know, I was introduced them to Uncle Johnny and Aunt Joan. I said, they've been coming here for 35 years. You know, and that sums it up how far they pushed us and how they didn't understand what we were doing. And the following year, they asked us not to come back.
So you started Strumpshaw, and so when you walk in, the wagons are front and centre.
It's the first time that when you arrive at a fair, instead of having like 1 or 2 of you and you're tucked away or you're hidden, we go, boom, come to the tree fair. People say, why the tree fair? What does it all mean? First thing you see is the wagons, and you see the horses, the gypsy horses, then you see the trailers, the caravans, and you're already sort of taking on this journey of, you know, this is going to be a sort of different event, but you know, who's it all about? So we are first.
So but it's taken again to attract all sides is a lot of work, isn't it? That's an understatement. I'm trying to be nice to him about everything here.
It is a lot of work. It takes all year. You start years before of all your different fairs you've done and things like that. And you try and do it right. You think all the mistakes that people have made with us, the mistakes we've made ourselves, let's make sure that it's mellow, that it's kind, the right people are in the right places, as in us and others. If you're going to have a fairground ride, make sure they're a showman, because if you have somebody else in who's not a showman, who's bought the ride, which happens, you're taking the bread out of their mouth, you're taking away their old stopping place, you're saying to them that, you know, I can do this, I can go and buy a striker and I can do this. You're taking away their bread, their money. So we've got a lot of people in the right place, but it takes all year to do.
And you're introducing more and more cultural stuff. You've got the
Singer and Songs project from the UEA, which is the archive of the old gypsy and traveller women that were recorded by Vaughan Williams. They were in an archive, and we brought them out. We did that last year. We're going to do it even more this year. And I think it's we're not a political fair. There's no big statement. We're just slowly making sure.
It's just normalising everything, really, isn't it? And bringing stuff up. Bringing stuff up that has been hidden beneath the surface.
Yeah,
I think.
bear in mind, we attract a lot of folk singers. We have lots of folk bands. They don't know that it was my community that kept those songs alive.
Absolutely.
And really, we want our community to feel a lot more pride about that, but we also want to educate them in a very gentle way to say, that old song that you've been singing, that you've changed the words of, we kept that alive round the firesides and through the sites, through the whole of, you know, before the last century, this century as well, and where everybody went off and they went and found their own musical sort of interests that they had, we kept those old songs alive. And coming like this year, Thomas McCarthy's coming back.
Oh, Thomas
is honestly, Thomas is outstanding.
And there's stuff. I mean, there's stuff in other parts of the country that sort of that. Ancient Town down in Glastonbury. Yeah. That's a new thing, and that's only been this will be the 3rd year of it.
Yes,
this
it's
year.
new with Billy Welsh and everything. And Thomas goes there.
And Thomas goes there.
I mean, Thomas plays now at obviously he's got Glastonbury, he's got Sidmouth. He's Bristol as well, and he's playing. He's Irish Traveller Singer of the Year 2018, I think it was. Yes, he came to us in 2017. So Yeah, he's a remarkable singer. He's unaccompanied. He's singing his mother's songs and his granny's songs. He's got over 1,000 songs that he's saved, and by singing them, they stay alive. So, I mean, people don't realise in Norfolk how blessed they are to actually see the Doyle family with all of them playing the
When Simon
Doyle
comes
and
down, you know,
family.
I mean.
And then you've got Thomas, and you know, we're just mixing it in with our wonderful local groups like the Foreign Locals, the Floozies, and everybody else. Because you know, all music is good, but we're just gently reminding people that, you know, as a community, we've got a lot of things that we that need to be told.
And of course, the very East Anglian thing is the step dance, isn't it?
Yes,
which brings, you know, everyone together.
The Romany step dancers. You've got Romany step dancers, and they're doing their sort of, it's not even a competition, but they're just showing off their skill, because the only other place you see the step dancer would be, sometimes there's a certain pub in East Anglia, there's definitely in Suffolk, there's two that still do it.
Yeah,
but
it's a White Horse, isn't it,
yes,
somewhere?
Yeah, and there's the, otherwise you'd have to go to Stowe or Appleby, you know, and we've got, that's closely followed, if you like, by flamenco, you know, so again, it's if you look carefully at, you know, all these, if you look at the old ways, these, it's all related. You know, we're all put in little sections. You do that over there. We're going to do this over here. If you look at it, it's all related. You know, certain steps,
and
certain music.
And again, you know, you bring in flamenco, and then there was a bit of a flamenco revival again on Norfolk-Suffolk border with Dixie.
Yes.
And
No, I think, you know, we're 9 years this year, and we've got to the. It's supposed to be know what we're doing, because it's always a steep learning curve when you suddenly get new ground, and you have to work out. You've got to work out how to tempt people in, you know, but in a sort of, you know, hence the tree fair, the name Tree Fair as well. It's amongst trees, but people are still, there was resistance for the first 4, 5, 6 years. Why is it called a tree fair? Why do I have to pay to come in and look at trees? You know, and so that's why we bring the music. The first thing they come on site is they hear live music. So again, you know, of course you've got to pay for live music, because musicians need to be paid for. But and we've got a huge market, huge artisan market. You know, of Meet the Maker. These are, when you look at our fair, this is the rural landscape of Norfolk, and we obviously have Suffolk involved as well. The rural landscape of people that really live in the countryside, and that make a living from the countryside, and live off-grid in wagons, in trailers, in lorries. They buy and sell. But, you know, this is the you know, it's not urban. It's the countryside, the real countryside.
Yeah, and I know. I mean, one of the reasons both here and Strumpshaw, when I'm telling stories, it's the number of people that come up that, and I'm thinking we go back about 40, 50 years, and they say, ain't seen you for decades, John.
They love hip hop. Well, that's why the fairs. That's why it was really crucial to start the tree fair, because having lost so many other fairs, and since lockdown again, a lot of the little rallies have stopped. Yeah. Because it's an Asian population, and also health and safety. That we all get hammered with health and safety. Let's be honest about it. When you're dealing with the council, and I've dealt with councils for many years. And I'm now, and it might be in the planning department. I'm now dealing with environmental health, and I'm now dealing, you know, licensing. So I mean, they're all similar departments at the end of the day. So I mean, they just hammer people. They don't seem to want live, beautiful fairs to flourish and prosper, because they just, from their point of view, it's just too much of a headache. So a lot of the smaller ones have gone. So it's crucial that, you know, we started it and that we keep going.
Yeah, and it's, I mean, within the wider sort of political landscape of, it's important that happens, because there's still a lot of resistance to. I mean, I went down to the Assert conference, which is Gypsy and Trapper Education Conference down in London, to talk about the education in prisons, and and I was appalled. I mean, I worked in. I was taking a mobile classroom onto before the old site in Ipswich, which I think is now where Asda is, and that was really the beginnings of, and they weren't being accepted into schools or anything. Everything had to happen on site, and then through the advisory service, everything, and a lot of people pushing, then there was that acceptance in schools, and seeming acceptance in schools. And I went to Assert, and I was listening to these mothers talking their self-help group, and I think it's gone back in the last 10 years. We've lost a lot of the ground, 10, 20 years.
Yeah, in the last 20 years it's been terrible. In the last 10 years, post-Delphan, it's speeded up that sort of racism and things like that. And you think about Richard O'Neill, who comes out, you know, a storyteller from up north. he works in schools, and he works a lot in Norfolk as well. Norfolk and Suffolk, but particularly Norfolk as well, because he's trying to get the teachers to understand that there's a lot of gypsy children in that class who don't identify. They don't want to, because you're told not to say who you are, where you really live, and where you come from. But he goes in with that sense of story and pride. And he said, first of all, you get like, there's only one in the class that say, I am a gypsy. And when he leaves, it's like half the class, they are gypsies, but they go, I am one. And it's that sense of, and then the other half say, I really want to be a gypsy if I meet Richard O'Neill. And it sounds, I want to be like that.
Yeah. So I remember I was doing a project in, I forget which prison it was, probably Wayne or something, but anyway, an East Anglian prison, and on paper they only had 6.
Yeah, they always do that, don't they? They identify.
So they identify.
Yeah.
So I'd walk. I had someone coming in, and I'd walk around the yard, and I said what was happening. They'd say, "Oh, you want to go and see my cousin over there?" And I had 60 in the library by the time I finished.
Rotten as well, just by bringing photos in.
But
because you're more likely. Let's say what the reason is that you're more likely to be sent to prison if you've got a gypsy name, if you're a gypsy, even if there was somebody from the Celtic community or from the country people, they would be less likely because they just consider those people are not going to run off, or they're not going to. But because of the gypsy name, they've always got you've got over hundreds of years of the same type of judge sentencing gypsies and travellers to prison.
I mean, Dan, the last 12 people to be hung for being, and Dan wrote the play about that, be hung for being gypsies, was in Cromwell's time, wasn't it? Yeah. In Bury St Edmunds, in this very area. Yeah. But I just on what's happening now, and the thing is, you can never say it's about prejudice, of course. Of course you can, and but.
It was a crime to be a gypsy and to say it. If you identified,
but now we had the East Anglian Storytelling Festival next weekend has got funding to do outreach work in schools, and because they've got Dan Allen coming down as part of, they were going to send Dan into schools, and there's 2 schools, Elmswell and Woolpit, and I can put this out, I don't care, because they've both got
they have a high population of gypsies.
Both those schools have got a high population of gypsies, and both schools wanted nothing to do with it, and it wasn't even going to cost them any money.
I know.
It was all funded. So there's still that resistance going on, but you've done the hardcore stuff, and you're doing it gently now.
This is so much easier. This is so much easier than gypsy planning. People always say to me, "Oh, do you find it stressful and everything else?" It's a complete joy. It's a joy to work with different, really interesting people and to generate across our, way our fair. It's run with kindness, it's run with understanding, it's run without any form of racism. People often say, "Oh, can I come?" Everyone can come. We've been in your position, but we're now making everyone welcome. So it's a complete joy to run. It really is, and just seeing the joy in people's faces as well, because quite often people will come through that welcome tent and they'll. I hear we might meet some gypsies and travellers. I said, you will indeed. You will indeed.
And you might not even know.
Well, that's the bottom line, we're not all wearing badges. We haven't all got little badge on saying, talk to me, I'm a gypsy. Quite often they'll come back through and they go, I never saw many. Oh, did you not? What can you say to people? I'm looking across this landscape and I can see Bob Lever. I can see like 10 people alone, the crew members as well. They're one, like Danny's a gypsy, obviously he's one of the Smiths. And it's just, we don't wear badges. And do you really need to know? Why do you want to actually just focus on that? This is a real life gypsy. So we've sort of blended it all in. So it's
well, and East Anglia is a blend.
It's a blend, and that's the thing to understand. That's what Thomas said when Thomas came. Because remember, the first time he came was a couple of years ago when he came out, and he was just so funny. He said, everyone's so friendly because he's used to a bit of resistance. He said, because the Irish accent, the first thing is, oh, where do you come from? You just come off the boat, and you still get that. And he was saying, they're so friendly. He said, well, what about all these hippies? He said, why are you working with hippies? And I said, Thomas, they're the nicest people. They're really bright, and they're really respectful. This is what you need to understand. So after the first day, he was like, they're so nice to me. He said, they're just like, oh, I would love to meet you. And of course, at other events, he's sort of, it's just maybe just not been as people aren't as respectful as they should be. and he just loves it. It's nice, isn't
Yeah,
it? Really?
well, I think,
he lives
yeah.
in London. He's from the side there, and there he is up in Norfolk, saying how wonderful it is.
Yeah.
It's the kindness and. It's
And,
very lovely,
and
isn't
it's
it?
also that I think East Anglia is naturally a mix.
It's a natural.
You know, it's a port. It's you know, if we think now we're being filmed by my grandson Tyler. His other granddad's Jamaican,
Right. Okay.
and
It's all a mix, isn't it? It's a melting pot,
you
isn't it,
know,
at the end of the day?
so
And the farming families and things like that. See, the farming families, lots of farming families in Norfolk. It's the gypsies and travellers that stopped on their land. We were always welcome. We're part of the, you know, if you like, you train the land girls. There's a whole lot of education still to be told about that. But you know, gypsies and travellers always worked on the land, and so it was much more accepting in Norfolk. You know, when it was different in Essex.
So
you know?
and probably his grandmother was half Italian.
Right,
Well, we don't know, but you know, there was a lot of, put it this way, there were a lot of Italians working on the farms around, on the fence. And
there was Polish, Italians, obviously Irish as well. You know, when you think about it, I mean, they keep talking about immigration now. You know, immigrants have been coming for generations. You know.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was surprised because I just did a DNA test, and the second largest bit of me is from the Spanish. What do they call that?
I know what you're going to say. Is it the Basque country?
No, south. And it's a B, isn't it? You're right, it's a B, and I've lost the word. Yeah, Iberian. Yeah, that I that looks like a B.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm 1/6 Iberian Peninsula. God knows where that comes from. But
Isn't
then,
that amazing?
but then there was a lot of gypsy movement up from.
Well, of course. I mean, when you think about all the sort of the big festivals as well, the big Roma and things where they're going along that sort of in France, there's all the sites and things. Again, it's all to do with fruit picking and farm work, and they're sort of travelling up. You know, and they're travelling through Brittany, big gypsy population there. But then they came to Wales, and they went obviously heading through the backbone of England and through our old stopping places through East Anglia up to Appleby.
Yeah, that would make sense coming through Wales.
Yes. Yes, there's lots of Celtic connections there.
But it's I haven't got much Scots, Welsh, and Irish, but it's Iberian, and that was the big thing. Where does that come from? Well, that comes from that move. You just explained the movement to me.
The flow of people following work, and again, it all comes back to stopping places. And then if we go back to why we're talking, the fairs, they're stopping places. So we need more fairs. We've got less fairs, so we've got less places to actually stop. You know, when we're on, it's like yourself when you're on your route of doing your storytelling from east to west. We're all doing the same thing, but we need to be made welcome, and we need to know where we're going, and we need to be ourselves. You know. And it's lovely to, this is our first fair of the year here at Radio Wonderful, and it's just lovely to be out again, out on the road. And also you meet different people. And I mean, the whole point of us coming out with our wagon and our trailer and all our things is ask me, talk to me. You know, don't walk past and go, oh, I'm not sure what they're doing. Oh, they've got a wagon. And a lot of people come over and start sort of talking and saying to their grandchildren.
See you at Strumpshaw, if not before. Yeah, see you at Strumpshaw.
See you. Bye. They'll say about, this is to their child or grandchild, this is a gypsy wagon. I am stood there waiting for if they're going to introduce me, if I can help in any way. And then they talk about all these things, which are actually incorrect, but you know, you're waiting away. And I said, would you like to know a bit more? Can I tell you a bit more? And most people, especially at an event like this, was like, oh yes, I would. I didn't realise you were going to do that. I said, yes, tell me, ask me.
And the newspapers would have it that the anti-gypsyism is right. Now I used to be on the corner early in my storytelling career, when the Suffolk County Council gypsy, I forgot David. He was ex-copper, and but he got on. You know, he was on the site. They'd have him as his godfather. They loved him, but it was he'd have a wagon on the corner, and it was front and centre. So it was right in the corner, and I'd be telling stories in front of it. Miles, my little one, was as they were then, would be sitting on the steps, and it was the year that the Criminal Justice Act came in, and everyone was, especially the older people, were terrified. Yeah. You know, I mean, there was this little harmless little couple come by, and he says, whatever's going to happen to us with this new laws. Yeah. But through that you know, and but it was Suffolk shows, so it was like it was establishment. But in the whole time over that whole weekend, I only got one anti-gypsy comment. Most of the people were nearly everyone is supportive.
Yeah.
Because basically when you come down to it, human beings prefer to be nice because it's easier that way. Apart from all else.
It is, but we're all human and we're all neighbours. So and people, as I said, they love to see. They do love the waggers. They do like to meet us, and and just just as I said, just good to be out again. Definitely, yeah.
And they probably all heard of us or heard of the gypsies from their grandparents.
Exactly.
I mean, like my wife.
Because everyone's got a lovely story about how I used to know this family. They used to stop down there. We never see them anymore, and that's because the next generation haven't been made welcome, or they've discovered that the way of life is quite hard.
It's quite hard.
It's really hard, and there aren't the right stopping places, so they've given up on it. But it's the grandchildren, the great grandchildren now that are coming back to it at the end of the day.
See, I've got this theory, and that it's only a theory, but I've noticed it all over the world, that once culture develops a middle class,
Yes.
they take an interest in the past.
Yes.
Because it's been too much hard work to, if you're trying to work out how you're going to eat tomorrow,
And where your water is.
and where your water is,
where
why would you,
why would you even
would
consider
even
that?
think all, all this. Well, it's not airy-fairy, but it's important. But
Yeah.
it goes, doesn't it?
Yeah,
under
well,
under those
no, that's
circumstances.
true. That's exactly what it is, and we know that for a fact. That people always say, "Oh, I don't suppose." So I asked the same thing. I don't suppose rich people like you. I don't know why they'd say that. I said no. I said the landed gentry love us. I said we used to stop all through Long Melford, Laveringham, all those sorts of places. They absolutely love us. I said because they know the families, and a lot of the community members did the work for them. Stopped over in the winter, made the fencing. Just were really helpful. So they know them. We're no threat to them. They know that we're going to move on, and they know how useful we are. So actually, they adore us. And at the other end, right at the other end. Someone in a council house absolutely loves us because you find out actually they're first generation, second community. They've joined because there's nowhere for them. It's just the middle bit.
Yeah.
The huge middle class house owning. What is the value of my house and why are you here and why are you in a lay-by? That is our problem.
Yes, I managed to get a poem on radio to when I used to do a weekly poem on Radio Essex, and they were going to build, I think, Milton Keynes, not Milton Keynes, Woodham Ferris, South Woodham Ferris.
Yes,
they
I
were
know
going to
that
build
area.
a site,
I know that area.
and the people wrote to the Queen a petition. So I had to do something that was relevant to Essex every time, and it's the only poem I remember. But I'm going to do it just to finish. Many gifts of third world charities oppose dictatorial regimes. When things move a little close to home, we're off to see the Queen. Hey Queen, I hope you understand we're nothing against gypsies as such, as long as we can't see them and they're not close enough to touch. Well, some of our bricks and mortar cost over £450,000. That's pure white Anglo-Saxon for wanting no one else around. But it might come as some surprise to those with a house at home that it costs more than just £1 or £2 for a trailer trimmed in chrome. And just like you and your next door neighbour when you're wondering where to stop, this day-to-day considerations like where's the nearest shop and how far is it to get to work because the children get to school or stuck out in the middle of nowhere don't sound too good at all. Well, the radio interviewed some residents and a council bureaucrat, but there weren't any travelling people invited them for a chat. They might have told them words paper across the ball had to bear, but why don't we rewrite the script and start again from there? How about self-employed homeowner is looking for a plot? That shouldn't raise too much emotion. Sounds just like one of their lot. No owned the earth in the first place. Was it one in a Waddington's game? And anyway, where is it written that all people must live the same?
Perfect.
So,
Perfect on that note.
on that note,
I'm going to have to pack up the wagon, but yes.
but thank you, Candy.
That's all right.
You've
We
been
always work
brilliant.
together. We always work together well, but yeah, it's just it is. I'm really pleased that I sold my land to fund the tree fair as well, so I'll never get that back. I sold a beach having some land because you start off thinking, oh, it doesn't cost that much to run a fair, does it? And then you get the bill for the toilets, and you think, really? I've really got to pay that much for the plastic toilets. It's unbelievable. So my first year was a trial. My second year I thought I really need some money, and I was still just finished at Dell Farm, so I was quite poor because I funded myself for 10 years. So I thought, you know, I'm going to have to go with this. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Yeah. Well, we need people with your courage, Andy. Courage, or
I don't know what it is. It was a bit of naivety as well.
Imbalance.
If someone sat me down at the beginning and said, "Do you know actually how much it costs?" Because I just went way naively into it. I thought, I can do this. I can do it. And it was lovely, Uncle Johnny, when he was coming down, because he said to me, "That's great." I said, "I'm doing a fair for you. I'm make sure that you and Joan can come out and that you will enjoy it." And it was the first one when very few people came through, and security, my bill was more than my takings on the gate for the very first one. And I said to him, I said, I hope this is going to be a success. I know it's going to be. And I said, I said, have I done you proud? And he was so funny. He said, I'll tell you now, I didn't want to tell you before, but we're very worried about you and that. He said, you've been very, very brave. I said, why didn't you tell me that before? When I said I'm going to do a fair for you, he said, we didn't want to put you off. We knew you were determined, but I'll tell you what, girl, yeah, you've done it.
Yeah, Uncle Johnny was,
yeah.
you know, I know we have our storytelling tent, but for the real stories, sit round having a cup of tea, having a cup of tea with Uncle Johnny. And
I couldn't believe that he didn't. He thought that it might not work. You know, he just thought, I don't know. Yeah, he was so funny. He really was. I never saw that in him until afterwards. You know, that first one. Then I said, should we do it again? He said, yeah, you'd get it better next time. It will work. He said, but we were so worried for you.
bless his heart.
Lovely.